ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णा प्रेम प्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णा चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः चार्थे सुविज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदायादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया। मनश्च भद्रं भजतादधोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नवमतिरप्यहेतुकी। So I welcome all of you to this talk on the life and teachings of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, whose appearance day was just 1 week ago. Caitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in Bengal in 1486 on the full moon day of Falgun this month. So he was very illustrious.
We cannot hear you, Babaji, at all.
Oh, I can hear well.
So can you hear?
Yes, I can hear as well, so I think it works fine.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, so it looks like you have some problem at your end. So he appeared in Bengal and he lived there for about 24 years. Then he moved to Jagannath Puri, traveled in South India, came to Vrindavan also. There is also a story that he went up to Kurukshetra. In fact, there is a place near airport which now they call as Gurugram. Some people say it was actually Gaurgram, name of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. That's one theory. So in any case, there are many biographies written about him. His associates, people who were with him, they took some notes, which is called Karcha, Murari Karcha. Srup Damodar also wrote some Karcha. The problem about his teachings is that he did not write anything himself. Although he is the founder of a Sampradaya, Gaudiya Sampradaya, which associates with Madhva Sampradaya, but still it is an independent school of thought because there is so many differences from other Vaishnava Sampradayas. But he personally did not write anything except those 8 slokas. And there is no record that he gave some extensive lectures in public or to people. We know that he used to hear Bhagavatam from Sri Gadadhar Pandit on Narendra Sarovar. So therefore it is not known much from the biography what was his teaching, what was his central teaching, like other acharyas, Sri Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vallabhacharya, Nimbarkacharya. So they all wrote bhashyas on Vedanta Sutra, on Bhagavad Gita, on Upanishads, and wrote many other books. So it is known from those writings what is their view about their philosophy or theology. In case of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, this was not very clear, and people who wrote biographies, they are writing what they experienced and what they think he is about. So if you read, although you may say, well, this is written by so and so and he is an eternal associate, but it is not necessary that this is what Caitanya Mahaprabhu was or wanted to preach. So, very difficult to know this. And if there is a sampradaya, then this natural question comes that what is the theology of the sampradaya and what is their practice? And the second is, which are the texts from which this has to be known. So this consensus was not there for a long time. A lot of people wrote a lot of things. There is a huge amount of literature available in our sampradaya, and much of it has not been even published. There are Padavalis and other books, a lot in Bengali and also in Odia, which people do not know, which never came to light. So many stories. When Sri Krishna came himself, he did interesting thing that he was in Braj here, but he was not God. When Caitanya Mahaprabhu was there in his own life, he was recognized as God. People who were with him, they recognized him that he is God. Even others who recognized. When Krishna was there, Brajvasis did not recognize him as God. When he was in Dwarka, then he was not recognized as God. They did not worship him. He was their family member. And then interesting thing he did was that when he left, he made everyone leave. So now there is no one to tell about him. That somebody writes his biography and then he says this, he says that. So all the Dwarka, Mathura associates, they left before he left. And then Brajvasis, they also disappeared. He came and he made them unmanifest. So therefore there was no such thing as his biographies written by different people, conflicting things, nothing like that. So therefore in his case it was Vyasa who wrote Mahabharata, who wrote Puranas, and especially Bhagavad Purana. And from that is what we know about him. So this was a standard thing. It is something similar to like Acharyas writing books of their sampradaya. So Vyasa wrote, and those books were accepted. But in case of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he lived with so many of his associates, and those associates were all very illustrious, and they had their disciples, and they had their understanding, and they preached. So it became a very big problem to standardize his teachings, and different people saying different things. Okay, everybody says that he came and he was propagator of Sankirtana, etc. So many things are common. It's not that there is conflict, but there are also some disagreements on many things. So we have different parivars and different lineages. So this is something very unique to our sampradaya, and a lot of biographies. There may be even different stories. So for this reason he sent Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and before that Loknath Goswami, Bhugarup Goswami to Vrindavan. And then it is Vrindavan where the primary literature was composed. And then gradually this literature was sent to Bengal, and that became the authoritative teachings of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And it primarily was popularized by Chaitanya Charitamrita, because even if this literature was written and there was no Chaitanya Charitamrita, then how many people are going to read all these Sanskrit works? Even now people don't read. But certain things we know, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that the pramana is Bhagavatam. So that we understand, because Goswamis did not write commentaries on Vedanta Sutra or Upanishads or even Bhagavad Gita, but they wrote commentaries on Bhagavatam. Sanatana Goswami wrote commentary on 10th canto specifically, Dasham Tippani, are also called Vaishnav Toshni. He also wrote Brihad Bhagavatamritam, originally known as only Bhagavatamritam, which is basically giving the gist of the teachings of Bhagavatam. And then Laghu Bhagavatamritam, Rupa Goswami composed summarizing that further. So that shows that it was heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhagavatam, and therefore our school is primarily based on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And then comes Jiva Goswami, who wrote Bhagavad Sandarbha, which are known as Sat Sandarbha. So that is the basic theology of our school. Otherwise there are no other books which really explain how many tattvas we accept, what is the Khyātivāda, what is, do we accept Shakti as a separate element or not, how many sambandhas. Like in other schools you will see this. So this is not found here because they depended primarily on Bhagavatam. And all the major works, they were based on Bhagavatam only. So therefore if we have to say teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then they are basically teachings of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is a composition of Vyasa after sitting in Samadhi. So that is what his teachings are. We may say that he came to taste the mood of Radharani, but that is not a teaching. That is his personal thing. What he wanted to give us, what he wanted to give to humanity is the instructions from Śrīmad-Bhāgavata. And he gave some guidelines for that Sridhar Swami's commentary is to be taken as a good explanation of it. So he taught by his example primarily. So as it is said that Acharya is one, Achinoti Shastrarthan Acharte Sthapyatyapi Swayam Chaiva Acharte Tasmad Acharya iti Smritaha. So Acharya means one who gives the essence of the Shastra, which is Bhagavatam Puranam Yad Vaishnavanam Priya, and which also teaches others how to follow that. So, and he practices himself. So this is what we see in his life. So then this Chaitanya Charitamrita is the one which actually organized, because whoever wrote biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they wrote it what they understood about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his teachings were put into his life. But his mood, his purpose of his appearance was revealed and understood by Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and then from them Sri Jiva Goswami. So therefore they are considered as prime authorities in Sampradaya. Everybody accepts them. Even there may be other people, and people may be coming in different lineages. Even if they are coming in the line of Sri Nityananda Prabhu or Advaita Acharya, but the works of Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, they are considered as an authority. And this authority was propagated by these three students of Jiva Goswami. So that was how it came to be known. Otherwise these books would have remained here in Vrindavan, and who is going to carry them from here? And then if they do not go in time, then they can be lost. And even if they remain here, people would not know what they really mean. So it was actually a great contribution of Sri Jiva Goswami, who not only wrote the Sandarbhas, wrote commentaries on works of Sri Rupa Goswami, but he taught students personally. And three of them were the major ones who went to Bengal and Odisha. So they are the one, they had a tough job also. It was not easy for them, for Srinivasa Acharya, Sri Narottam Das Thakur and Shyamananda Prabhu, now to go back where there are already people living who may have even seen Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Must have been very old, of course, by that time, if someone was surviving. Or at least they are coming in the line. Or they saw him when they were very young. And now to go and impress on them these teachings is not easy, because they will think that who are you? It's always like that. It's not. Now we may think, okay, they did this, they did that, but when you have to do something practically, you face a lot of opposition. Try to do something, especially try to do something different. If it is the same thing, okay, do kirtan and distribute prasad, which was what Chaitanya Charitamrita is full of that. Right? Kirtan prasad, kirtan prasad, kirtan prasad. So, besides that, if you want to now say something more, then that's not easily acceptable. So therefore you hear that they were also doing, Narottam Das Thakur also had the big festival of Kheturi and big kirtan and big prasad, a lot of description of that. So it was tough job for them to teach this to people. So Bhagavan comes basically to teach humanity. He has no other purpose to appear here but to give education. Whether it is Sri Krishna or Bhagwan Ram or any other. Some avatar come and they kill and they go away, but at least the prime ones, they come to teach by their own life. So, yadrishi bhajte tadrishi krida yasutva tatparo bhavet. So, anugrahaya bhutanam manusham deham ashrita. Sri Sukadeva Goswami says that to give anugraha on the living beings of this world, Bhagavan comes in Manus Deha. Because Nrsimhadev, Matsya Avatar, Varahadev, they did not give instructions. To teach humanity, you have to come as a human. So the Manusham Deham Ashrita, and then Bhajte Tadrishi Kridai, Yashutva Tatparo Bhavet, that they perform activities by hearing which you become influenced by that. So therefore Ramcharit, Ramayana, Mahabharata, all these stories, they had the biggest influence on the mindset of people of this land. For centuries and centuries, and so many works were further written on the basis of that. And the idea is to discipline Parokshvado Vedoyam Balanam Anushasana. So the whole idea is Anushasana. The animals, they do not need to be disciplined. Because they follow their nature. And they don't transgress that. They don't have that facility. But it is human beings who have speech, who have hands, who can walk straight, who can talk, and they can make decisions and go against the law. So therefore they are the one who need to be disciplined. So the whole effort of Shastra, that's why it is called Shastra, to discipline the human mind. And different processes are given by that. And discipline, what is the purpose of discipline? Purpose of discipline is to bring them to love God and His creation. So that is the purpose of Bhagavatam. Kavalya Prayojanam, we know that. Right? So, Sarvedant Saram Yat. Vastodityatan Nishtam Kavalya Prayojanam. So its Prayojan is Kavalya, which means Preeti here. So the purpose is to bring love in the humanity, and that love is not something material. Material is Kam Bhav and spiritual is love. So these are the two basic principles which function in human society. It is Kama, and in the spiritual world it is Preeti, Prema. So the whole Leela of Bhagwan is to bring Prema to people who are absorbed in Kama. And for this only he comes and he says, Dharma Sansthapanarthaya Sambhavami Yuga Yuga. So this is his Leela. His whole creation is for this purpose only. As Sri Jiva Goswami explained in Paramatma Sandarbha, that he does creation only for the sake of devotees. He goes up to the extent of saying that he has actually no concern about with non-devotees. And then it is from devotees that prema comes to non-devotees. So he gives to his devotees, he works with them, and then devotees, they give to the people. And this is the whole system. So Mahaprabhu's purpose was to teach this prema, to give. This for this it was said, Anapitcharam charat karnaya avtirna kalu, that he came to give which was not given before or not given for a long time. Samarpit unnat ujjal rasam sva bhaktim shriyam. The wealth of his bhakti he gave to distribute that. And bhakti is most difficult thing to understand. Although it looks very simple and it is said it is very simple, but it is difficult to understand. And the reason for this is that here you have to give up your own desires which are related to your physical body and things related with body, this dehatmavad. So to go beyond that, which is very hard for the human mind. And then all the problems come because of that. So he comes to teach this by his own example. So apani karibe bhakta bhav angikare, apani achari bhakta sikhaimu sabare. So he takes the bhakta bhav, he is Krishna himself, but comes in the mood of Srimati Radha, and then taking this bhakta bhav, he acts. Obviously, if that is your bhav, that's how you are going to act. We act according to our bhav. So, apani achari bhakti, he practiced bhakti himself and sikhaimu sabare and taught it to others. So, this is the main purpose of his coming, besides his internal purpose that he wanted to taste, he wanted to know what is his own sweetness, how Srimati Radha relishes it, what kind of pleasure, sakyam chasya madan bhavuta kidrisham va iti lobhat. So that is internal, but as far as we are concerned, the humanity is concerned, his purpose was to teach this pure devotion, which is the subject matter of Bhagavatam. So Vedyam Vastamatra Vastu Shivdam Tapatrayon Moolanam Śrīmad-Bhāgavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Parairishvara Sadhya Hridya Varudhyate Atra Kritivi Shushrushuvi Tatakshanat. So he becomes situated in the heart because he is attracted by bhakti, by prema. This is what Jiva Goswami explained, what we studied recently, that his prema has the quality that it controls Bhagavan, it attracts him. Sri Krishna Akarshani Chasa, one of the 6 attributes of bhakti defined by Sri Rupa Goswami, that it attracts even Krishna. So not only devotees are attracted, but Krishna himself is attracted by it. Because this is his heart, this is his antaranga, this is its Ladani Shakti. So this is the Shakti which he came to distribute, and not only distribute, because if you distribute and go away, then after that, that's it. But actually to teach it, to educate. So education is done in 2 ways. One is pravachan, other is acharan. So both are important. There are some great sadhus, great devotees, they do acharan, but they cannot do pravachan. So they cannot teach it, because for teaching also some caliber is required. And there may be people who can teach, but they are not doing acharan. So that is also not effective. So Mahaprabhu, he taught it to his intimate associates, and he practiced. He showed by his own example. And that is what his followers also did, that they also wrote books and they taught it. So originally there was a tradition of studying these Shastras. Now the Sampradaya has spread all over the world, So we actually do not know this. Previously Sampradaya was not that much spread. And there was a tradition of studying Shastra and practicing. So what you hear, that people were living here in Braja and they were renounced people, they were doing Madhukari. So besides doing their bhajan, they were also learned people. This is what people don't understand now. Many times people are all the time asking about this Leela Smaran and Vilap Kusmanjali. So they actually don't know that these people who were studying this and doing this, they were also very highly educated people. It's not that they just took the Govind Leelamrit and then that's all. There were people who had the whole Govind Leelamrita by heart, all the slokas, and it's in Sanskrit. So they had knowledge of it. So that's how the custom was, but with time, as things became more and more influenced by Kali Yuga, by the foreign rule, many things were broken down. All these temples here in Vrindavan were seats of education. Because you imagine that Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, they all made temples. Gopal Bhatta Goswami. They also all wrote books. It's how amazing it is to make a temple here in the middle of nowhere. There was no roads here. How to bring this stone, big stone from Rajasthan came, how it came. There were no trains, there were no trucks, only bullock cart. And for bullock cart also there was no proper pathway. But that's how they came. All this huge amount of stone which you see here, it's not from here, it's not locally found. And then to get people, to get the raw material, how much effort it will take. Even if you have to build a temple now like this, then you see your life you will be just collecting money. Yeah, people are busy just raising funds. When you have so much facility to do that. So they did it, and at the same time they were not that they had thousands of disciples. Sanatana Goswami did not make disciple. Jiva Goswami was only disciple of Rupa Goswami. Jiva Goswami he had students. It's not really known whether he gave Diksha or not, but he was at least teaching. That is for sure. So that it was not that they also had some thousands of disciples around them and they were very renounced because they were also trying to move around and find places. And this place to make disciples, local people did not understand their language. They were not local. They spoke Bengali. Local people spoke Brajbhasha. So how difficult it must have been. And in that situation they wrote books. This is the most amazing thing. They didn't have any specific place to sit. And then writing books is not that just writing some novel or some poetry from their head. They're writing books in which they're citing from so many other books. When you see other acharyas, they were at least situated in some city or town or somewhere some facilities were there, or they had the protection or help of some king, etc. There was nothing here. There was no kingdom here. The nearby kingdom was Delhi, where Mughals were ruling. And then they did not only write books, they taught them. And that's how the parampara continued, and then they trained people and this knowledge was sent to Bengal, Odisha. So this is how the teachings of Mahaprabhu were systematized and then propagated. But there were always different opinions about practices. Even now you see that different groups have their own separate practice, because there was no central authority. There was no organization that this is the central place. Like if you see Vallabhacharya Sampradaya, then he is the authority, and then he had two sons, and then the lineage coming from that. So they are the authority. If you have Sri Ramanujacharya, he was the authority. He wrote books. Madhvacharya was the authority, and he trained his disciples. But here it was not like that. Those who wrote books did not make disciples, and those who made disciples did not write books. Right? I mean, all these people who were in Bengal, not that we don't hear Advaitacharya writing any book, we don't hear Nityananda Prabhu writing any book, or any other great illustrious people who had disciples. So therefore this sampradaya grew up in a very unique manner, and still there is core philosophy, core principles which everybody agree, but now we see still there are a lot of discrepancies or oppositions of each other. One says like this, another one says like that, third one says like that. So that of course you find in other sampradayas also. There are always some differences of opinion. So therefore the core teaching of Mahaprabhu, as I said, now if you come to that point, that is based on Bhagavatam. And its best analysis is in the Sandarbhas, where Jiva Goswami in Tatu Sandarbha he makes it very clear. So very systematically he first establishes Bhagavatam as the pramana, because that is the first thing you have to ascertain. What is your pramana? And then he analyzes what is actually the essential message of Bhagavatam. So it is not that he already has the message and then he wants to just impose it on Bhagavatam. So he does a very unique analysis. He takes the samadhi of Vyasadeva. So bhakti yogena mansi samyak pranita male apashyat purusham purnam mayam cha tadapashriyam ya sammohito jiva. So he analyzes what Vyasa experienced in his samadhi. And from there it is very clear, all the basic principles, that there is Bhagavan, there is Jiva, there is Maya. Because he saw all three of them. He saw Bhagavan, Apashyat Purusham Purnam. He saw Maya. So Maya is not mithya or imaginary, but it is also real energy. And it is under the shelter of Bhagavan, Tadapashriyam. And then there is a Jiva, Ya Sammohita. And Jiva is bewildered by Maya. And then he is performing karma on the basis of that. And because of that he is suffering. And then he saw that the solution is Bhakti Yoga. So, lokasya janato vidvan chakre satvat samhitam yasyam vai shruyamanayam. So, by hearing which one gets bhakti utpadyate punsam shoka moha bhayavaha. So he found the solution is bhakti, and bhakti is for Bhagavan, not for anyone else. So the basic point, what is the sambandha, abhidaya and prayojana, it is all there in the experience of Vyasa. So he establishes this in the very beginning, in Tatu Sandarbha. Therefore Tatu Sandarbha is not very big, it's very small. And then he says that now everything will be studied in the light of this. So if you see some statements which seem to contradict that, then they have to be interpreted in the light of this, because Vyasa is writing, and he is writing this after he has had experience himself. So he is not going to write against his own experience. Now suddenly he is not going to propagate Advaitvad. So that's why he takes that as the basis. And then from that he brings up what is Bhagavan, what is Paramatma, what is Brahman, how they are related. This famous verse, Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdate, how Krishna is Swam Bhagavan. So people, especially from other sampradaya, they put a lot of charge against him that he is just trying to force, but it is very clearly written in the very beginning of Bhagavata. So then he does this systematically. And his purpose is not going into too much into debates with other systems. His purpose is just to present what Bhagavatam is teaching, and not trying to refute this. Some refutation he does, because obviously those questions come up, so he brings, but mainly he analyzes Bhagavatam and then establishes. So that's why he wrote 6 books to explain the Sambandha. Then Abhidheya is Bhakti, does very lengthy analysis how Bhagavatam is teaching only Bhakti. And then Prayojana is Priti. So 2 things he does very long analysis. One in Krishna Sandarbha to show that Krishna is the central figure in Bhagavatam. And other one is in Bhakti Sandarbha, where he shows that all the major speakers are recommending Bhakti. So this is very clear, and this is absolutely aligned with the Samadhi of Sri Vyasa. So that's how you see the whole Bhagavatam. And once you understand that, then you can read Bhagavatam and relish it, and you can see what is actually being said or what is being defined, described. So this has to be kept in mind, the basic principles. So this is primarily what Caitanya Mahaprabhu's life was. He was the living example. He was Bhagavatam personified. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavaka. So he is the one who was tasting the rasa of Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam means stories of Bhagavan. Bhagavatam means story of the devotees with Bhagavan. So that's what he relished, and he was in that mood. So this is what we can understand about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his life, because other stories you all know that. But seeing from the education point of view and what is there for us in it, we can talk and this is very nice, he did this, he did that, he spoke in this manner. But actually what is the message for us from his life, and what is that he wanted us to imbibe from his coming here. So that is what is understood from Goswamis. So therefore they became the final authority, and then ultimately it is Chaitanya Charitamrita which became the final authority about his life. Because then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in a very expert manner, he put all these principles in the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So earlier people also did that, but they were not able to include all the principles as he has done. Because ultimately when we understand that he came to teach, as Sri Krishna says, dharma sansthapanarthaya. So he comes to educate us. So that education is the important thing. Otherwise, reading just biography of somebody, you understand he was born in this year, then he got married, then he did this, then you have all these dates and these actions, and then what? So his real purpose was to teach us bhakti, and this is what you see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that through the activities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this prema bhakti, this uttama bhakti, this is shown, all the principles. So then when he's teaching somebody, he's talking to somebody, or he's answering some question, then these things come. So that's what it means, anarpit charim chirat karunaya avtirna kalau, samarpit unnat ujjwal rasam so bhakti shriyam, hari purat sundar dyuti, kadamba sandipita sada hridaya kandare, spuratu va sachinandana. So this is what Sri Rupa Goswami wrote about him, summarizing that by his karuna he came. Because if Bhagavan does not come here, then nobody can understand what is bhakti. Because bhakti is not which can be understood with material mind, or it is possible for anyone with material mind to understand it on its own. So he has to come and teach it. And it's also not just teaching, but also to give it. So he taught it, he practiced it in his life, and he gave it. So that's his great karuna on the living beings of this material world. Otherwise it is not possible. So therefore he is Acharya in the true sense of the word, and he is Bhagavan also in the true sense of the word, because bhakti comes from him only. He is the ultimate source. So Bhagavat Upagya, Bhagavat Upkrama, yesterday we had that sutra in the Samas Prakarana, Upagya Upkrama. So means it originally starts from him. Bhakti Upkrama means, Bhagavad Upkrama means bhakti, because it starts from him. So that's all I wanted to say. If any question or comment is there, you can have that.
Can you maybe say something about Nitya Navadvip Dham and Nitya Vrindavan, how they two relate to each other, and is there a Nitya Navadvip Dham in Vrindavan Lila, or is this complete something else?
Well, this abode, every form of Bhagavan has their abode. As Krishna has his abode, Mahaprabhu also has abode. So we also have to remember this, because we think that originally there was only Radha and Krishna and there is no Mahaprabhu. He is also eternal. It is for explaining we say that there were two and they became one, and then there were one and they became two. That is just for explaining. But if you want to enter into Krishna Lila, you have to enter through Mahaprabhu Lila. This is what he is showing. First you have to be in the mood of Mahaprabhu, then only you get into the mood of Radha and Krishna. That's the entry. Otherwise not. So therefore Vrindavan is there in Navadvip, because they are meditating on it. So Navda Bhakti, Navadvip, 9 islands.
So there is also a Navadvip in Vrindavan.
I've never heard that.
And can you maybe say something about from which perspective Gadadhar Pandit is speaking about Bhagavatam to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Which perspective means he is explaining what Bhagavatam is. Perspective is prema only. Bhagavatam is about prema. It starts from the very beginning and in the end. And this is the sar, this is the essence of Vedanta. Sarv Vedant saram yad brahmat atmaikatva lakshanam vastu aditiyam tannishtam kaivalya ek prayojanam. So ado madhyavsane cha hari sarvatra giyate. So that is the only perspective of understanding it. What he was explaining we don't know. No book written on that.
Prabhuji, what are some major differences, just like inherent, love and some of these things are there, some very prominent or predominant to your knowledge?
Well, the differences are mainly in practices. Some give stress to one thing, some other people give stress to another thing.
So nothing in any principles or anything like that?
Principal differences come mainly if you study Shastra deeply. But as I said, that the culture of studying Shastra is not very prominent in our Sampradaya, so what you hear differences are what you already know. And then on practice, some give stress on temple worship, some give stress on Leela Smaran, some give stress on Kirtan, some on Japa, some on book distribution, some on maybe construction of temple or something.
Okay, thank you.
I have two questions. The first one, is it known whether Mahaprabhu actually read the books of Rupa and Sanatan to sort of verify and authenticate them?
No.
My second question is that earlier today you spoke about how some gurus or acharyas, they speak of like bringing some heaven on earth or turning the world into some Vaikuntha or some golden age. And it seems that different religions, they seem to have this aim of saving the world through their teachings. And I'm wondering if this was also Mahaprabhu's aim to save the fallen world through his Sankirtan or his teachings and so on.
So what do you mean by save the world?
This evangelical kind of spirit. Christians, they have missionaries, people are going out and giving people Jesus, otherwise you're going to hell type of thing, or this or that group. So I'm wondering now if this is...
Yeah, so everybody likes to spread whatever they believe in. This is natural. Call it save the world or call it anything. But all the acharyas, they also propagated what they believed in. It's nothing new about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you see Shankaracharya, he also traveled all over India and spread his teachings. Ramanujacharya also spread his teachings. Vallabhacharya also traveled twice and spread his teachings. Buddha was also doing that. So that's a common thing.
And reconciling this with the fact that bhakti is rare. I mean, it's because in the Shastra it says that bhakti is rare, right? So how to reconcile that? Okay, maybe you want to spread it, but at the same time you have this obstacle or this thing about what you're trying to give people actually is not so easy to understand.
So if you don't do that, it will become more rare. Right? So you make an effort. So rare does not mean that I don't make an effort. I try to practice it myself, and also if others can take interest, then teach to them.
I'm wondering whether the stages of life of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu are an example for us also, in the sense that the overview you gave about his life was that first he studied, then he went out, he traveled, he preached, he went out, and then in the last phase of his life he went inwards, was very reclusive. He withdrew completely from the world. Is this something that only very special personalities like him do, or is this something that is a general tendency that he displays by his life, or general recommendation?
Everybody cannot do that. That is obviously. So it is not that he's teaching that everybody should do that. There is a reason why he did that. So we know that from Chaitanya Charitamrita. But what he expects is what we, as I said, is written in the books of the Goswamis. Because if you follow him, then you are not even going to study Shastra. He was already a scholar when he was 16. He was already called Nimai Pandit. So here, we may not even begin by that time. So those are different times, and he's obviously God, so that is his Leela. So not everything that we can emulate, but at least education should be done.
Then we have two questions in the chat. So one is that if you could explain the Anarpita Chadim Chirat shloka. And the other question is that if one can get bhakti without the kripa of Shri Shri Gauranitai.
So Sri Jiva Goswami has written a very extensive commentary on this verse. Narpit charim charat karunaya avtirna kalo. So of course it cannot be completed in short time, but the basic thing is that Bhagavan, the verse says that Sachinandan. So God likes to be called by the name which is related to his devotees. So therefore Sachinandan, Yashodanandan, Devakinandan, Nandanandan, these are very dear to him. So that's why he says Sada Hridaya Kandare Spurtu Sachinandana. Sri Rupa Goswami is giving blessing that may he manifest in your heart forever or ever. And then he is explaining who is he. So he appeared to give this Uttama Bhakti, Anarpit Chari. Anarpit means which is not given before, and Chirat means for a long time. So now he has come in Kali Yuga because it is said that he comes once in a day of Brahma. When Sri Krishna comes, then only in the Kali Yuga which comes after that he appears. So that is the meaning of Chirat, for a long time. So Anarpit Charim Chirat Karunaya. And he is not forced by anybody. So although it is described that Advaitacharya called for him, so then also he came by his own grace. And purpose is, as I said, Samarpitum Unnata Ujjwal Rasam. Ujjwal Rasa is name of Uttama Bhakti. Madhurya Rasa. It's also called Ujjwal, like Ujjwal Nilmani. So Swa Bhakti Shriyam, and Bhakti to himself. So that's how he appeared. Hari Purata Sundar Dyuti Kadamba Sandipita. So he is Hari, he is Krishna, but he has the beautiful hue, golden color. So as we know that he is coming in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So that is the basic sense of this sloka. And what is the other one?
Can one get bhakti without the kripa of Shri Shri Gaura Nitai?
So bhakti comes by the grace of bhakta. So if you want grace of Gaur Nitai, you have to get the grace of a devotee who is coming in the line of Gaur Nitai. Direct grace is not described anywhere. So this is there in Bhagavatam also, in Bhakti Sandarbha, that bhakti comes by the grace of bhakta. So Nitya Siddhasya Bhavasya Prakatyam Hridi Sadhyata. So this is a bhava which is in the Nitya Siddha Bhaktas. And it is Nitya Siddhasya Bhavasya means Nitya Siddha Bhaktasya Bhavasya. So it is the bhava of Nitya Siddha Bhakta, and from there it comes by their grace. So therefore it does not come without the grace of his devotee. Although you may read statements like that, Heno Nitai Vina Bhai, Radha Krishna Paite Nai. But how are you going to get the grace of Nitai? It's also not directly available. So that comes only by the grace of Guru.
Yes. Some more questions came in the chat. One is that during traveling with Mahaprabhu and serving him, Kala Krishnadas. So there is Kala Krishnadas. While traveling with Mahaprabhu and serving him, he got attracted by So does that mean that there's possibility for the Jiva to leave the Lord's company, or is it a Līlā which does not which does not indicate such a possibility?
Now this is to show that as long as you are in the material world, you have the peril of being deviated. Even if you are in the association of Mahaprabhu, there is no Bhatta Haris in the spiritual world. So there is no allurement there. Na tatra maya kimta harer parer surasura archita. So there is no maya in the spiritual world, so don't take this as that you can leave from there. It is here in the material world. So you see all the time examples people take to bhakti and then they deviate. So just to show that how you should be strict and not become fascinated by material things. Such things don't happen in the spiritual world.
And then Sri Krishnanandaji asks, what is the main difference of the Sri Caitanya Sampradaya from other Vaishnava Sampradayas in Vraj in terms of the prayojan, etc.?
So one of the things is that there are other sampradaya like Radha-Vallabha Sampradaya, is that Uttama Bhakti, which is Parkiya relationship. Also Nimbark, because the other two prominent Sampradaya in Braj is the Nimbark Sampradaya and also Radha-Vallabha. So they both accept Swakiya and we accept Parkiya relationship. This is one of the major difference. Also we accept Bhagavatam as the supreme pramana. So they have their own. There is Mahavani in Nimbark Sampradaya and Radha Sudhanidhi in Radha-Vallabha Sampradaya. So there are some differences our practice, our mantras are different.
I did not understand acoustically what you said. Radha Vallabh Sampradaya, except which book?
Radha Sudhanidhi.
Shri Jiva Goswami taught to Srinivasacharya, Shyamananda Prabhu and Narottama Das Thakur in a particular way, and then three of them went and continued to teach others. Is it known which system they adopted to teach Shastra, or this teaching was always adapted to a specific group of people that they were teaching to?
What do you mean, what system?
For instance,
teaching of system is same?
Yeah, so this question comes to me because I was asked several times, so where do we start from? Which book do we have to study first, and then, so that's the system that I imply here.
Yeah, so you should ask your question specifically. I simply ask which books they taught.
I asked this question this way because I know that this question was also asked to you by different people, and sometimes your answers were different. So that's why I want to know if it's specific.
Because it depends to whom you are teaching. If somebody already knows Sanskrit, then I'm not going to tell him that go and study Sanskrit first. Then I can teach. So the system is that if you want to really study properly, you have to learn Sanskrit. You have to study Nyaya. You have to study Purmimamsa. These are basic things you have to study. Good is to have all the Saddarsanas and then study Bhagavatam or Satsandarbhas. It depends, because it's a very general question and my answer will be different depending on who is asking. Whether what is his age, at what level he is, then accordingly you can answer. Just like if you have to teach somebody, you will teach first what do you know already. You're not going to repeat that. Even if you have to teach Sanskrit, if somebody already has some knowledge, then you are not going to say, okay, learn how to write. He says, I already know it. So what is the point in asking? Or if somebody has basic knowledge of sandhis and forms, then why ask him to study that?
And there's Shri Rishikesh ji. He asks so except from the Mangalacharan and Tattva Sandarbha, is there any mention of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu later in the Sandarbhas?
Yeah, 2 times he mentions, but not even by his name. He says, Ityuktam Kalyug Pavan Avatarena, something like that. One is, he refers to nothing, one is Trinadapi Sunachaina verse and one more, 2 slokas. Otherwise he doesn't mention. Only in the end of each Sandarbha.
And then Shri Satyasandha asks, in Chetudarpana Marjana verse, cleaning of mirror is advised. Does that cleaning come from accepting Guru, which starts the gradual cleaning, or is it possible to clean just by chanting as advised in Shikshastaka?
So Shikshastakam is only 8 slokas, and obviously those 8 slokas cannot include everything in it. So when something is given in a very concise form, then you give the most essential things. Things which are very well known, there is no point in telling about that. So this is a very well known fact that if you want to take to any spiritual path, you need a guru. So therefore he is not mentioning that. there. But now people say, no, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says like this, Nam Namakari Bahudha Nisarva Shakti Tatrarpita Niyamita Smarnena Kala Shri Tadu Shri Tav Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaivam Nahi Ajani Anuraga. So now this is very interesting. In the beginning he says, Nam Namakari Bahudha, that you have many, many names. In fact, as if you have made many names, Akari, right? Various types of name you have created. And Nirsarva Shakti Tatrarpita, and then you have invested all your energy in them. So it looks like he created the names, because that's what the word Akari means. And then he put his energy into them. That's what literally it means. And then there is no niyama, but smarane, only in smarana, niyamita smarana kala. And then he says, may I have your kripa like that, because I do not have anurag for them. So there he uses the word durdaivam, that I have a misfortune, that I do not have anurag. So what is the misfortune? So misfortune is the aparadha. Because when aparadha is there, then anurag is not there. So what is aparadha? You know, nama aparadha. One of them is Shruti Shastra Nindanam. That to criticize Shruti Shastra, Vedic literature. Criticize also does not mean that you are actually just criticizing it. It also means not following it. So now Shastra says, Tam Vijnanartham Gurumeva Vigachet. This is the Shruti statement. Naisa Tarkena Matirapaneya. Don't just apply your logic. If you want to know this, you should go to the Guru. Samit Pani Brahmanishtam, Sotriyam Brahmanishtam. So this is Shruti saying. So now you don't follow that. That is the Durdaivam. So now Chetodarpan Marjanam will not happen. So we have to just understand things in a proper context and not take. Because people will give logic like that. Because Shruti is also saying that don't just apply your tarka. Nasa tarkena matirapaneya tarko pratishthanat susk tarkam tu varjayet. So all these statements are there. But people do that. So that's fine. There is no need that I have to do tarka with them. But just to answer you, that it is very necessary. If you don't have a guru and you just chant, then remember that you are disobeying Shastra. And chanting is prescribed in Shastra only. So the very Shastra which is prescribing you to chant, you are also disobeying some part of it. So there comes the problem. Okay. Anything else? Yes.
I assume that Rupa and Sanatan were known by all the Vaishnavas in Orissa and everywhere, right? And then, and then earlier you mentioned how it must have been difficult for Jiva Goswami's students to go back and actually establish these teachings. And I'm wondering, so this means that somehow that these teachings were not so easily accepted, even though they knew very well that, Mahaprabhu was like, had blessed the Rupa and Sanatan in this way.
Yeah. Now there are many people who say they are Rupa Nuga and they don't accept what Rupa Goswami says. So what do you say about that? So human mind is like that.
Or they interpret it in another way.
Yeah, that's what it means, not accepting. So they were known all over Odisha. That's also doubtful that they were known. But even if they are known, doesn't mean that everybody is just going to accept. Because they also had their own teachers. As I said, that Mahaprabhu had many associates. And they were also very illustrious. So they are not going to think that they are less than someone else. Even if Mahaprabhu has sent them, they say, yes, our Acharya, our Guru is also blessed by him. So you have to think the mentality of the follower. How they think. So there were Panch Sakhas also in Odisha. Right? Famous. One of them was Jagannath. You don't even hear his name anywhere in the writings or biographies. But I have read, and it said that he was he was just like Swarup Damodar, always with Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu used to call him Swami. But you don't even hear his name. So now you don't even know about him, but they are followers of Jagannath. So they will listen to him or they will listen to Rupa Goswami. Whom will they listen? And there are also biographies of Mahaprabhu written in Odia. It's not only that they were written in Bengali. So we don't know what all is written in them. Maybe there Jagannath is portrayed like Rupa Goswami or somebody, Swarup Damodar, I don't know, but there are biographies in Odia also. So many biographies were written. Even if they were not complete biographies, there are so many people wrote about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was a towering figure in Odisha. He was called Mahaprabhu. In Odisha, Mahaprabhu is used only for Jagannath. You know that? Right? The word Mahaprabhu is used only for Bhagavan Jagannath, not for anybody else. Now we have Mahaprabhu Vallabhacharya, Mahaprabhu Hitharivansh Goswami, all this. But in Odisha, the word Mahaprabhu is used only for Jagannath, not for anyone else. And Chaitanya was called Mahaprabhu. So you understand the amount of respect he was given. So you also understand the amount of people who were around him and who respected him. Because he was just like, he was known as a Chala Mahaprabhu. He is the Achala Mahaprabhu. He is the immobile Mahaprabhu and he is the mobile Mahaprabhu. So many people honored and wrote about him. Songs, padavalis, biographies. So many things are never published. So I read this book called Caitanya Chakda in Odia. So there it is. I never knew that. From Chaitanya Charitamrita it never becomes clear like that. That Mahaprabhu was actually traveling all over Odisha. He would go. From Chaitanya Charitamrita it looks that he just went into South India, came back and he never went anywhere. Except that he came to Vrindavan. But within Odisha, he used to go. He was invited for kirtan and then he would go there and stay there and do kirtan and come back. So now actually I understand that, like now we have this Adhivas kirtan. So in that Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, they are all invited previous day and then kirtan starts next day. So this was custom at that time, they will invite him. So this was something very new to me. So now imagine Mahaprabhu going to different parts, then obviously so many things would have happened, he would have spoken to them, people would remember his statements, whatever he did there in the kirtan, we don't know what all he did. So this is something very big topic of research. Because all we hear is Bengali bhaktas coming to Odisha and going back. But we don't hear much about the Odia bhaktas, right? But actually he had a big following in Odisha. For them he was, because his mother was from Odisha. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mother, Jajpur. His mother was actually from Odisha. So they identified with him that he is Odia. As much as Bengalis identify with him as a Bengali. The Odishan people, Odia people, they identify with him like that.
Can you maybe explain how to build up a relationship with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Just
Guru?
build up relationship with your Guru. How many times I have told? And just now also told you, no one can develop relations with Chaitanya Prabhu or Nityananda Prabhu or anybody if you don't have relationship with Guru. That's what all I am stressing. Without Guru there is no Uttama Bhakti. Just remember that. It's not possible. Because what is Uttama Bhakti? It is a complete surrender. All this what is saying Unnat Ujjwal Rasa, this is the absolute 100% surrender. And it starts with Guru. Not that independently you are going to jump. No entry like that. It's impossible. You can try.
I've been wondering about Sri Chaitanya and his associates. Two things. One thing is that have you ever come across or have you ever researched why specifically Srivas Pandit is singled out in the Pancha Tattva that we have? Is it that maybe he is a Jiva Tattva and other people who are also very close, like Swarup Damodar and so on?
I don't know, but
Okay.
the only thing I think is he is supposed to be Narada Rishi. And Narada Rishi is the one who does kirtan. So kirtan started in his home. Started at his place. And that's the only I can think.
And then the other thing I was wondering is that many of his key associates are manifestations of queens from Dwaraka or Vrajagopis, and they all come in these male forms and do their lila together. And I was wondering, what is the significance of that? That these eternally female forms, female bhavas now come in that specific form.
So as I said, it's not something that they are coming and going. So you understand that he is eternal, then they are also eternal. It's just that their mood is like that, just Mahaprabhu is in that mood. Does not mean that Radharani is not there anymore, or Krishna is not there. So as he can expand eternally, so they can also expand. Just like we read in Krishna Sandarbha that when Krishna expands, he is the original, when we expand, then correspondingly the consort also expands. So same thing happens. Okay, let's stop.